Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmerced.com, and what I'll do is just talk about sort of the mechanisms of corruption. Because a lot of people follow politics and they know there's a corruption, but they don't fully understand how it happens. They just think, they imagine like that episode of The Simpsons where people met in back rooms and hand, briefcasefuls of cash, and that's how corruption happens. A lot of times it's done formally and legally. And it can be pretty bad. And I mean, it's really bad here in New York. This is why it's important to limit political power, because people with political power are subject, or really power in general, are subject to corruption. But what happens with political power, you end up giving it to the people who are most subject to corruption, because they tend to be the people who are willing to say whatever it is they need to say to get your vote, or willing to do whatever they need to get your vote. So for example, my assemblyman here in New York recently got into some heat because basically what he did is that his son started a non-profit organization for a religious school in the area. It was questionable whether the religious school was ever started, but basically his office gave money to this non-profit saying, look, we're funding education in the district. And when you take a look at a lot of the reports, it just looks like a lot of that money was just used to basically pay his son, who is now running for city council, and now using that money to run for city council in the area. So the point being is that they use, basically a lot of policymakers will launder money in the name of charitable causes, okay, by creating fake charitable entities, and they may nominally do things that are charitable, sort of, like maybe hire a teacher for a period of time and then just cease operations, but then launder most of that money through payroll to political allies, political friends, or people they need to politically influence. And that just wouldn't happen if they didn't necessarily have those discretionary funds to do that. And that's a big issue here in New York, because most state legislators have this big pocket, this big pool of money that they're allowed to just at their discretion hand out. And really what it just comes down to is it becomes bribery money, so that way they can stay in office. And the same thing goes with the governor, same thing goes with local offices. Everyone has this money that they have discretion with, that basically, and this is another reason why it's hard for incumbents to lose, because they build those relationships, those financial relationships, to basically where people just don't want them out of power because they're benefiting, they're on the payroll in a sense. And that's just generally what happens. And the thing is that everyone else thinks they're doing good things because they hear, oh, they gave it to this foundation, or they helped this, they helped that, or they say a couple nominally good things in the name of, and that's what happens. And you'll see this. If you watch TV and you watch politicians' talks, you'll see this over and over and over again. And to most people, they think, wow, look at these politicians being so good for the people. Other ways you'll notice is politicians, oftentimes, if someone is not donating to them, once they're in office, you'll see this with incumbents, people who are sitting U.S. senators, sitting congressmen, notice that they will call out particular industries or companies. Usually those are people who are not donating to their party. The minute they start donating to their party, then they stop speaking out against them, stop proposing bills that would affect them. These are also what's referred to as a feeder bill, because basically the idea is they're just trying to intimidate businesses to fill their coffers. Okay, especially some of New York senators are prolific at this tactic, at always targeting businesses until they cough up. Okay, I ran against one of these senators. Now, again, the whole point here was just to show you how this corruption works, how it's oftentimes in your face. It's not behind the shadows, it's not behind the scenes. They do it right in front of you, and they actually use it to convince you that they're a good person. This is why you don't want government having this much power and having this control of other people's money, because they use that other people's money to not benefit the people half the time. They say they are, but half of the times they're just buying political influence. Okay? And it just becomes, instead of people, businesses, since they get dragged into this through things like feeder bills, they're like, well, if I want to be dragged into this game, I might as well play the game. And then the game of who succeeds and who loses is not based on who has the best idea, who works the hardest, who is providing the most for society, but for who can wield the game of political influence the best. And that is not the economy that we want. I mean, this is essentially the whole topic of the book, Capitalism for the People by Luigi Zingales, where basically he is an economist who grew up in Italy, where he saw corruption all the time, and basically he reflects a lot of that on his view on economics. It's a great book. I highly recommend that you read it. And you can find a lot of other books I recommend over there at books.libertarian101.com. So just wanted to reflect upon that. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Ciao.